For NFL fans and analysts, there are few things more dejecting than watching the career of a generational player go to waste. The NFL is not the NBA, where star players on bad teams eventually just get fed up and look to join a super team. Loyalty mattered the most for some all-time greats, and sadly, their teams just never could repay them with a sustainable winner. So today, here are 10 NFL teams that wasted the career of a generational talent by failing to properly build around them. Detroit Lions, Barry Sanders. The Lions have wasted a lot of elite talent in the Super Bowl era, but none stand out more than Barry Sanders. There's a case to be made that he is the most talented and explosive running back in NFL history, even if he doesn't have the championship rings or every rushing record held by Emmitt Smith. Thing is, most of the other GOAT running backs like Smith, Marshall Faulk, Jim Brown, Walter Payton, and Frank Gore got to play with star-studded supporting casts for large stretches of their careers. Sanders did not. Sanders single-handedly carried the Lions to 5 playoff appearances in his Hall of Fame career, going as far as the 1991 NFC Championship game. Lions QBs combined for 16 touchdowns and 17 picks that year, by the way. Sanders showed that he still had it in his final season in 1998, rushing for 1,491 yards and 4 touchdowns. But in an all-time stunner, the 1997 MVP announced his retirement in 1999. After 2 decades of silence, Sanders finally opened up about his retirement. He cited his frustration with the Lions' direction and knew that they weren't anywhere close to a Super Bowl contender by the end of his career. So, he simply lost the desire to play, even if his legs had plenty more to give. Sadly, the Lions franchise just hasn't really recovered, winning just 2 playoff games since his retirement. Chicago Bears, Dick Butkus. Without question, Butkus is on the Mount Rushmore of NFL defensive plays. The Chicago native was drafted 3rd overall by his hometown team in 1965. Butkus's illustrious careers kind of speaks for itself, honestly. 8 Pro Bowls, 5 first-team All-Pro nods, 1960s and 1970s All-Decade team honors, NFL's 75th and 100th anniversary all-time team selections. I think you get the idea by now. Only problem here, the Bears kind of stunk during his Hall of Fame career. They didn't make the postseason once in his 9 years with them. In fact, they only finished above 500 twice in his career. And to really emphasize just how mediocre they were, well, they never even reached double-digit wins in a single season. Indianapolis Colts, Andrew Luck. The Colts were so confident in Luck's ability that they were happy to move on from franchise icon Peyton Manning, who was released at the start of the 2012 offseason. Indy used the #1 pick of 2012 on Luck, while Manning went to finish his career with the Denver Broncos. Luck, like Manning, was praised as a can't-miss prospect, and he certainly lived up to the hype early on, leading Indianapolis to 3 straight 11-win seasons. Unfortunately, the Colts forgot the importance of basic roster construction around a franchise quarterback. Then general manager Ryan Grigson failed to provide Luck with a proper offensive line, and sadly, his body paid the price. Luck missed most of the 2015 season with a lacerated kidney. He also dealt with a concussion in 2016, then missed all of 2017 recovering from shoulder surgery. Luck won Comeback Player of the Year honors in 2018, leading Indianapolis to a 10-win season and surprise playoff appearance. After leading the Colts to victory over the Houston Texans in the wildcard round, Luck and company bowed out to the Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional round. Just when it looked like the Colts were back on the up, however, Luck stunned everybody by announcing his retirement in August of 2019, just a few weeks shy of his 30th birthday. Afterward, Luck explained that the physical toll on his body made him lose the desire to continue playing. And yeah, understandably so. If the Colts had properly built around Luck, he would have stayed healthy and kept him in playoff contention. Heck, he'd probably still be playing. And oh yeah, the Colts might have actually won a Super Bowl or 2. On the bright side, the Colts kindly let other teams know what happens if you neglect the O-line and your QB's well-being. So hopefully, we won't see any generational QB talents of his caliber wasted again, right? Houston Texans, J.J. Watt. The Houston Texans didn't know it at the time, but their franchise fortunes would change forever when they selected Watt 11th overall in the 2011 NFL Draft. Before Houston drafted Watt, they had never made the postseason in their history. In his rookie year, well, they locked down their first postseason berth and victory. In 2012, Watt would win his first of 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. Houston would fall to the New England Patriots in the divisional round. Still, it felt like the Texans had cemented themselves as an up-and-coming contender in the AFC. They were just beginning, just getting started. So we all thought. The Texans proceeded to waste the next 4 years of Watt's career with the inability to find a QB. Matt Schaub, Case Keenum, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Brian Hoyer, Brock Osweiler. Just awful and gross QB play all around. Houston finally found a QB when it selected Deshaun Watson in the first round of 2017. Only problem? Watt was hit by the injury bug and passed his best before date when Watson fixed the QB issues. The Texans cut Watt in 2021 with injuries and age affecting his production. He then spent his last 2 years with the Arizona Cardinals, but was well past his best before date at that point. Peak JJ Watt was arguably the greatest defensive player ever. It's just a shame that the Texans never were able to build a bona fide contender around him. Los Angeles Chargers, LaDainian Tomlinson. There's a long list of NFL stars whose primes were wasted by the San Diego/Los Angeles Chargers franchise, but none stand out more than LT. Similar to Barry Sanders, Tomlinson's name in the RB GOAT discussion would pop up much more if he had enjoyed team success, but it just wasn't to be. What's maddening about LT is that the Chargers always had good teams around him. They just never got the bounces they needed in the playoffs. And well, the front office dysfunction in the underwhelming Norv Turner era really didn't help matters. Seriously, think about it. LT won MVP honors in 2006 after scoring 31 total touchdowns, an NFL record. They went 14-2 under Marty Schottenheimer. He was still fired after they lost in the divisional round, and then Turner took over and further mismanaged their stacked roster. And lo and behold, LT got his best shot at a ring when he joined the New York Jets in 2010. They went to the AFC Championship game and lost by a single point to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now imagine what could have been if the 5-time Pro Bowler and 3-time first-team All-Pro left the Chargers much earlier. Oh, what could have been? Cleveland Browns, Joe Thomas. The first round of the 2007 NFL Draft produced 4 Hall of Famers: Thomas, Calvin Johnson, Patrick Willis, and Darrelle Revis. And yes, Adrian Peterson will soon grow that number to 5. Depending on how you like to weigh and compare them, there's a case to be made that Joe Thomas is the greatest offensive tackle in NFL history. He spent his entire 11-year career in Cleveland, earning Pro Bowl honors in his first 10 seasons. And yet, the Browns could never build a half-decent team around Thomas. They finished 10-6 in his rookie year and barely missed the playoffs. Unfortunately, that was the best team Thomas would ever play on. Cleveland would have a losing season over each of Thomas's final 10 seasons. That included a 1-15 season in 2016 and a 0-16 campaign in 2017. Yeesh, what a way to waste the career of a 10-time Pro Bowler and 6-time first-team All-Pro. Kansas City Chiefs, Tony Gonzalez. The kids might not know this, but the Chiefs were among the NFL's most underwhelming and irrelevant teams in the late 90s and throughout most of the 2000s. The main reason that they were worth somewhat watching? Well, that was due to the presence of Tony Gonzalez, arguably the greatest tight end in NFL history. Gonzalez put up all-world numbers despite never having an elite QB in his career. With the Chiefs, Gonzalez earned 10 Pro Bowl and 5 first-team All-Pro nods. But like we said, that supporting cast around him was just never that good. Kansas City only made the playoffs 3 times in 12 seasons with Gonzalez. They never won a single postseason game in his Hall of Fame career. The Chiefs tried doing Gonzalez right by trading him to the Atlanta Falcons in 2009, but they were hardly any better, winning just 1 playoff game in his 5 years there. Debate among yourselves if Gonzalez, Rob Gronkowski, or Travis Kelce is the go-to tight ends, but unlike the latter two, Gonzalez's prime years were wasted on a team that could never maximize his skill set. Just a shame. Minnesota Vikings, Randy Moss. Jerry Rice holds the crown as the greatest wide receiver in NFL history, but Moss was certainly the more all-around talented receiver. There were key differences. The San Francisco 49ers never wasted Rice's prime years. Rice also had the team-first mentality and tireless work ethic. Moss was more known as a diva and didn't always feel like giving 100%. Then again, it's kind of hard to fully blame Moss for growing frustrated and eventually checking out. You may recall just how good Dante Culpepper was in Minnesota. Let us remind you that Moss made him, and that Culpepper's career was a bit of a train wreck after he and Moss split. 5 of Moss's 6 Pro Bowl nods came in a Vikings uniform. He led the NFL in receiving TDs 3 times too. When the Vikings went 15-1 and reached the NFC title game in Moss's 1998 rookie year, it should have been the start of something special, not their peak together. Yet alas, the Vikings failed to build a long-term winner around him with questionable coaching hires, awful management, and the inability to give him a true superstar QB. And to make it worse for Moss, the Vikings rudely dumped him to the Oakland Raiders in a 2005 blockbuster trade. 2 more prime years wasted. Good grief. Now well, at least he had some good times with the New England Patriots afterwards. If only he had spent his entire prime there instead of in Minnesota. Miami Dolphins, Dan Marino. Before guys like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes arrived, some considered Marino the most talented QB in NFL history. The only issue, of course, is that, well, he never won a Super Bowl. Then again, how do you blame Dan the Man when he provided the Dolphins with nearly 2 decades of all-world quarterback play? Seriously, roll back the clock and consider this. In his 17 seasons, Marino had one 1K rusher to help him out. Oh, and the defense was just always a middling unit as well. Miami went to the Super Bowl in Marino's sophomore season in 1984. They were crushed by the dynastic San Francisco 49ers. And then, he never saw the big game again. Marino was the best pure pocket passer in the NFL. Heck, he was the best pocket passer the NFL had ever seen before the 21st century. His teammates let him down time and time again, though, all while he put up never-before-seen passing numbers. If that isn't wasting generational QB numbers, then seriously, what is? Arizona Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald spent his entire 17-year career on a mostly mediocre Arizona Cardinals team. He basically had an elite QB in 3 of his 17 seasons. Kurt Warner in 2008 and 2009, and Carson Palmer in 2015. But other than that, it was just mostly unwatchable QB play in Arizona. Fitzgerald is second all-time in receptions and receiving yards, behind only Jerry Rice. But again, Rice usually played with a top-tier QB and other superstars. Arizona only made the playoffs 4 times in Fitzgerald's Hall of Fame career. It is a darn shame that they didn't get the job done in Super Bowl 43 against the Pittsburgh Steelers because, man, his career is truly full of what-ifs. Fitzgerald could have totally broken Rice's records if he had a top QB for the bulk of his career. But, like we said, he was a generational talent whose career mostly went to waste. 11 Pro Bowls and being second all-time in career receptions and receiving yards just wasn't enough for the Cardinals. All they did was blow the career of a once-in-a-lifetime talent. But hey, which other NFL teams wasted generational talent? Were there any notable examples that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.